Alright, bet. It's been less than 24 hours since I uploaded my final series recap vid. I might as well make my first off-season video about the Indiana Pacers. Obviously, they just came off I don't know if I want to say historic, but they came off one of the most impressive playoff runs ever. Being the underdogs in pretty much every series they've been in, they were underdogs against the Milwaukee Bucks, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the New York Knicks, and most recently the Oklahoma City Thunder. And reasonably so, because on one team you have Giannis and Dame, and everyone's saying that Hali and the Pacers won last year because Giannis was hurt. Obviously, the Dame injury kind of accelerated things to Indiana's advantage, but regardless they still beat the Bucks, and Giannis couldn't really do everything by himself in spite of his best efforts to do so. Gary Trent can only do so much. Bobby Portis can only do so much, right? Giannis needed Dame in that series, and in the second round that Cleveland team just crashed out at the worst possible time because they picked up Darius Garland picked up a toe injury. DeAndre Hunter and Mobley kind of picked up injuries themselves, and then Donovan rolled his ankle. But regardless, Indiana were able to take care of them in quick fashion. And then the New York Knicks, they had everything going for them. They just choked the first two games, and it's just like, shoot, Indiana capitalized on what New York didn't do in games 1 and 2. And ultimately, they won that series to get to the NBA Finals. They went up 2-1 in the finals and led by 10 in game 4. Everything looks like the Indiana Pacers were finally going to be the favorites for the first time ever these playoffs to win a series. Obviously, they were kind of favored after games 1 and 2 of the Knicks series, but for the first time, well, for like it would have been like one of the rarer times that Indiana was actually favored to win a series. You dig what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, Indiana's offense went stagnant. Tyrese Halliburton couldn't get things going. They stopped giving the ball to Siakam. Nembhard had to do things by himself, and Nembhard could only do so much. And then they end up dropping that game. They dropped game 5, responded with an impressive game 6 victory. And then the start of game 7, Tyrese Halliburton was starting to pop off, and we were in for a Hali versus Shea epic duel in a finals clinching game 7. But unfortunately, Tyrese blows his Achilles, and more than likely he'll be out for all of next season. Well, probably shouldn't say more likely. He will be out for all of next season. So, what's next for Indiana, man? Obviously, priority number one would be to re-sign Miles Turner. I said it in my series recap vid last night that Miles Turner has been the heart and soul of this Indiana team for the last 10 years he's obviously played in. Indiana drafted Miles in 2015 with the number 10 pick. And he's been with that team through the good and the bad and the ugly. So Indiana should do anything and everything to keep him. Nembhard should be untouchable. McConnell should be untouchable. And Neesmith, for as reckless as he can play sometimes and as dumb as he can play sometimes, picking up dumb fouls and fouling out 3 times these whole entire finals, he should be untouchable as well because he is the anchor of what is a really good Indiana Pacer defense, right? Next to Andrew Nembhard. Some of their backups, I would definitely think about re-signing Thomas Bryant. Serviceable backup next to Miles Turner. Obviously, Obi Toppin. Try to extend that guy. Now, what will their starting lineup look like without the services of Tyrese Halliburton? Obviously, I think Andrew Nembhard is going to be the point guard one, I was about to say QB one. He's about to be their priority, the main point guard that's running the show, right? We'll have him next to Neesmith. I think Ben Mathurin will get the starting nod because obviously with no Halliburton, Neesmith's gonna have to scale back at the 2, or if they really want to keep Ben Mathurin off the bench as a spark plug, even though uh, they would start TJ McConnell, even though in my personal opinion, I think TJ should stay on the bench because he would be the energizer bunny off the bench, and plus you got Obi Toppin, you know what I'm saying? So they could start with Neesmith, Nembhard, Mathurin, Pascal Siakam, and Miles Turner. That will be probably the starting 5 next year with Hallie's blown Achilles. Or if they want to keep Nembhard and Neesmith at the 2 and 3, then I think they could go out and sign someone like, let's say, a Bruce Brown. Bruce played on the Indiana Pacers last year for half a season, and ultimately they traded him to get Pascal Siakam. But I think Bruce Brown can do a lot of things a lot of great things for that Indiana Pacer team as the point guard. Remember, when Bruce was with the Denver Nuggets the season prior, Bruce was able to do a lot of things under Mikey Malone. He can bring the ball up the floor. He can be the point guard next to Jamal Murray. Jamal can play off the ball, right? What else? Bruce Brown can defend. He can get rebounds. He can help take pressure off of Nemhard and Neesmith being that other defender in that starting lineup. So Bruce Brown, you could start him at the 1 or 2 with Nemhard starting at the 1 or 2. That would be interchangeable, and I think that would also help the Indiana Pacers because they need someone that could take pressure off of Nemhard because Nemhard is going to have the ball a lot of the times, and a lot of the time I should say, and he's going to be the one calling out plays, and he's going to be their probably their best player. I'm not going to lie to you. He's probably going to be their best perimeter player, while Pascal Siakam still stays as their most consistent player, right? Malcolm Brogdon's also a good option. They can make a sign for him, who he also played in the Indiana Pacers system, and he played with Rick Carlisle in 2021-22. So Brogdon would not be a bad idea. He could also do the things that Tyrese Halliburton can do, but to a lesser degree. But the thing is, Malcolm Brogdon's he's pretty injury prone, so I don't know if maybe that could be an issue as well. Maybe getting someone like a Monte Morris to come off the bench if you want to start TJ. Or there could be a few good names that the Pacers could trade for if they really want to really keep their philosophy as is and keep TJ on the bench. If anything, like keep TJ and Mathurin on the bench. A few names that come to mind for me would be CJ McCollum, Kobe White, or Lonzo, Anthony Simons, or Colin Sexton. What do all those guys have in common? Well, first of all, those guys can get their own shot, right? I think with Colin in particular, I haven't watched too much of Colin Sexton's games, but he is a good energy scorer. He could create off the dribble, not a bad defender, and he can play within the Indiana system because he himself is a run and gun player. Now, the thing, and also the thing with Colin too, is that he can do the thing. If he can do the things that he can do next to Larry Markkinen and Walker Kessler, imagine what he could do next to Pascal Siakam and Miles Turner. Now, keep in mind, guys, before I launch any further, these guys are more than likely 1-year rentals. I don't think they're going to be Tyrese Halliburton's replacement. So they could go at. I'm just saying that these guys they could go after to step in for Tyrese Halliburton now that Tyrese was out, or now that Tyrese will be out. And obviously, these names are going to be names to watch for the Dallas Mavericks because Kyrie Irving is out with an ACL injury of his own. As far as Anthony Simons goes, it's the same thing. I don't think he's as tall as Halliburton. I gotta see how tall Anthony is. Anthony Simons is also 6'3". Again, it's the same thing with Colin Sexton. Anthony's not a bad defender, but I think the only drawback there is that Anthony does play a little bit like Nemhard. I just saw a little bit of Anthony Simons' highlight tape this year with the Portland Trailblazers. So him and Andrew's play styles could be a bit redundant, but I think if you can make it work, Anthony Simons could be a really good stand-in for Tyrese Halliburton next year. As far as Kobe White goes, Kobe's not a great defender, but and he's a little undersized, but Kobe can get you buckets when need be. And if anything, if those guys step in and do a bang up job, and that's if and only if they Indiana trades for him, obviously. That would mean guys like TJ McConnell would be expendable, and they would probably trade him as a result. But the thing is, you get a good scoring punch with those three. But Kobe White can get his own shot. I think he could play in a really fast paced system because I saw what he did next to Matas Buzelis, Josh Giddey, and Lonzo Ball and the Bulls this year. I've seen what he can do. I think he could do the same thing next to Pascal Siakam, Miles Turner, Andrew Nemhard, and Aaron Neesmith, and all those other cats, bro. And then with CJ McCollum, CJ would be pretty much in the same position, kind of, that he was been with the New Orleans Pelicans, especially in that 2021-22 season where New Orleans made the playoffs, knocking out the San Antonio Spurs and the Los Angeles Clippers in the play-in tourney. CJ can be that vet presence. I think the only deficiency is that CJ is older. I don't think he's willing to play that fast at his advanced age, but I think he would be much more slower and methodical as opposed to what Rick Carlisle wants in that offense. So I don't know if that would really work, but it wouldn't hurt to have another shot creator next to Andrew Nemhard and Aaron Neesmith because keep in mind, these guys, with the exception of Colin and Anthony, these guys would have to be shielded by Andrew Nemhard and Aaron Neesmith. Now, again, these guys, they're not going to replace Tyrese Halliburton because once Tyrese Halliburton comes back for the 2026-27 season, he's going to be the primary starting point guard once again. But as far as this particular year goes, if they want to keep themselves afloat, I would recommend going for those guys or play it safe and sign a Bruce Brown so that way you won't compromise what you have right now. Because if you trade, and obviously we look at the situations financially, because I think the cheapest option of that of those four players at least would be Colin Sexton. Or no, it's actually Kobe White. My bad. No, Kobe White would be probably the cheapest option because he's making $12 million a year, whereas CJ McCollum's making $33 million a year. Anthony's making $25 million, and Colin Sexton's making $18 million. So again, these guys are not going to be the end all be alls, but they could really help the Pacers stay afloat next year if they want to at least stay afloat without the services of Tyrese Halliburton. But at the same time, if those guys play way above their heads, it can make a guy like TJ McConnell expendable. And the Pacers next offseason, should they trade for those guys, would have a very rough decision to make, especially when Tyrese comes back. Would you want to make TJ the third string point guard? Would you want to trade him? So they could go for those guys, and I wouldn't have a problem with it. Anthony and Colin Sexton, I would definitely try to experiment if I could. I would definitely experiment if I can try to trade for him if I'm Indiana. But overall, I think they should. If they want to run it back, they can. I wouldn't have a problem with it. But I think you would definitely want to sign a guy like a Bruce Brown because that starting backcourt situation is going to be weird because of the fact are you gonna start TJ and Nemhard together, or are you going to start Nemhard at the 1, Neesmith at the 2, and then Ben Mathurin at the 3? So they have a lot of stuff to figure out, but I feel like they will. I bet they'll address that at a later point in time. But right now, the priority is this: re-sign Miles Turner to an extension. Miles has been. I will say this: Miles did piss me off during the finals because, dude, you are 6'11" and you only give me less than 5 rebounds a game, dog. Neesmith and McConnell out rebound your dumbass, but still, he's still a dog. He's the heart and soul of that Indiana team, and I think he lives and breathes Pacer basketball. So I don't think they should trade him. I think they should, or let him walk, I should say. They should definitely give him an extension. I would try my best to extend McConnell. I would try my best to extend Obi Toppin. And then obviously getting guys like Bruce Brown would help out a lot. Or trading for CJ, Kobe, Anthony Simons, and Colin Sexton. Again, those guys are not going to be Tyrese Halliburton's replacements, nor they should be. These guys are going to help keep the Indiana Pacers afloat, especially since these guys can get these guys are all 18, 19, 20, 21 point per game scorers. So they will fill the scoring void that Halliburton left. Now, will they help? Will they fill the void of the playmaking department for Halliburton? Maybe, maybe not. But as of right now, if the Pacers want to keep it afloat and continue what has been a very special a very special time of growth for them, I think they could definitely start small, and they could absolutely factor in that those 5 guys I named, they could be part of a major part of Indiana's rotation when Tyrese Halliburton comes back for the 2026-27 season. So I want to get on here for a quick 13, 14, 15 minutes and such and discuss with y'all about what I think should happen for the Indiana Pacers. That would be my offseason game plan. I would definitely want to explore for those guys. But other than that, keep your core as is, but figure out your point guard situation. And it starts with looking at, again, signing a Bruce Brown or looking at trades for guys like Kobe White, CJ McCollum, Colin Sexton, and Anthony Simons. But other than that, I think they'll be all right. When Halliburton comes back, he may not be the same player, but they would definitely be happy to have him back. So we'll see how this team goes going forward, and they'll definitely be a team I will watch within the next couple seasons and such. But until then, thank you guys for watching. I love y'all. That's the end of this video. I'm X. Deuces.